I wanted to bring up this story in Henderson. Have you heard about this? It's the battle over drag queens going into a library, and they're calling it, Drag Queen Story Time, where several libraries have had these drag queens go in there celebrating diversity divas. Story time, celebrating and supporting the diversity that exists across individuals and families in the community. And this protest, many protesting it in this group called Mass Resistance, a website that says they protect the traditional family, school children, and moral foundation of society. This is an issue in Henderson, and the libraries there are supporting what they're trying to do here with this drag queen story time. So the guy we have with us on the line right now, his name is Chris Davin. He works for Equality Nevada, and maybe he can shed some light on what's going on there. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
No, thanks for joining us. I'm doing good. So basically, this is happening in cities all over the United States where libraries are opening up their doors and we're doing story time. Basically, drag queens come in and, read, different, child, books to these families that, bring their youth and their kids, to come out and, do something.
Sure. Now, Chris, make no mistake about it. I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. I do not agree with what this mass resistance, what this organization is doing. I think it's a hateful group as far as I'm concerned. With that being said, what would you say to a mother or father that says, I don't want to subject my kids to a man dressed in female clothing because I don't want to explain to my kids what that is? What would you say to them?
Bottom line, don't bring your kids to the event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
If you don't want your kids subjected to it, this is an open, story time. You have the choice if you want to bring your kid or not want to bring your kid. So if a family that chooses that they're open-minded and don't mind bringing their kid, well, then why should you, change their decision? Everybody has their opinion, and if you don't want to bring your kid, don't bring them.
We're talking to Chris Davin, Equality Nevada, drag queen story time, a situation where men dressed as women go into these libraries and, reading in front of kids. I see absolutely nothing wrong with it. I agree with what Chris said.
Mean, if Mike Pence's wife's school that basically outlaws homosexuals is okay, then this is 100% okay. How could it not be?
It is. What would you? So tell me about. I agree, JD. What would you tell me about, Chris? This mass resistance group. It seems like a hateful group that has nothing better to do with their time than to protest what you guys are doing. Talk to me about this group and your interaction with them.
Really, to be honest, we don't have much interaction with them because they really haven't hit Vegas until just recently with this story time. Bottom line, it's a group that basically has nothing better to do. They're bored. They're probably retired. And,
good point.
They've got to fill their day with something to do. So why not attack people on, because they're having fun and they're not.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. So how does this thing start? Explain this to me, where you get, 3 or 4 men that dress up as drag queens, and that you have this idea of going into these libraries and speaking to kids. Like, how did this come about?
It came about, from other states, basically with the LGBT issues, pressing, so hard in, our, country, lately. Parents are, more accepting to the LGBT. And, they want to not be, like certain businesses not doing business with them. They want to instill in their youth that everybody is equal, everybody is unique in their own way, and we're not going to shelter our child into, being, sheltered not to see what is out there in life.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. And I also want to say that during Pride Month in Sparks, many petitioned to have one of those drag queen readings, and Sparks canceled as well. A similar thing also happened in Southern California. So are you prepared that there will be more blowback from this and that, these groups like Mass Resistance will continue to picket and protest outside these libraries? Are you prepared for that, and how will you handle it?
We're very well prepared. Being here in Southern Nevada, we have a very large LGBT community. We have a lot of organizations. And to be honest, they brought 5 people to protest. we had probably over 40 to 50 allies that were, for it. And we come out in mass. One thing about the LGBT community, they stick together.
Mm-hmm.
And we're ready for it. We've done many events here in Nevada over the years. We do Pride each year. We've never had a problem. I get it. It's a youth. It's story time. It's a drag queen. But you know what? In the day and age that we live in, just get over it.
Mm-hmm. I think people should live their lives the way they want to, and I also agree with you on the record, me saying if parents don't want to take their kids, don't take them. It's a free country. You don't have to go. So we just had a caller that called in, Chris, and he wanted me to ask this question on the air. It's not my question, but I guess it's a fair question. These drag queens, do you require them to have background checks?
Yes, we do background checks, so we do make sure that, they're not on the sex offender list. We do check that out. And we do look at their criminal background, to see, do they have, a criminal background? And maybe, how extensive, is the criminal, criteria.
Sure.
I can see if they had a weed, charge 20 years ago. Well, if they haven't had anything in 20 years, how can we hold something against them when they were, young?
Right. No, I think that's responsible, and I appreciate that.
Has there been any pushback on prospective parents thinking that maybe that the drag queens that are reading these stories are potentially pushing homosexuality or the art of being a drag queen on these kids?
To me, I don't think so. Kids are young. They haven't made up their mind. They don't know anything. To be honest, you can almost compare it like taking your kid to the circus. They see a clown dressed up with makeup on it. The kid sees it as entertainment, something intriguing, interesting, and there's no difference. It's just a drag queen, a guy dressed as a woman with makeup, reading a story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you feel that your kid's being influenced to be homosexual by somebody that's dressed up reading a book, then what are you doing when you take your kid to the circus? Are you saying that your kid is now being influenced to be a clown?
Let me ask you this, Chris. Do you think that some of these people like mass resistance or like our Vice President Mike Pence, his wife works at a school that does not allow homosexuals to go to school there or work there. Would you label these people as homophobic?
Definitely. There's nothing different between the way me, you, or anybody else is. We're all living people. We all do the same thing. We all, shop, eat, sleep, work. So what happens privately, how should that affect or, be, anything, upon you?
Mm-hmm. If you were,
you're homophobic. You're afraid that, homosexual, LGBT people are going to convert you. It's been proven. Conversion therapy doesn't work.
Right.
That's why many states now are making conversion therapy conversion fraud, because these therapists are frauding people out of thousands of dollars thinking that they can change somebody when they know they can't.
So you mentioned that they're afraid that they'll be converted. Are you kind of implying that the most homophobic people are actually closet homosexuals?
I believe so. In this day and age, a lot of people, are afraid that, they're gay, they're lesbian. Oh my God, don't touch them. They've got some type of disease. If I was in a room with you and you never even knew I was gay, you're going to be my friend.
Right.
But the moment I tell you I'm LGBT,
right.
Oh my God, it's a totally different perception now. Like, what changes your mind?
I agree. Listen, nothing you have said in this conversation I disagree with. I'm a straight guy. I'm not homophobic. I wanted to ask you this before we let you go, Chris. And by the way, we do appreciate your time. I have been outspoken about the straight pride parade that took place in Boston. I think the main reason why many of those people did that was it's kind of like a put down to the gay community. In the history of since I've been alive, at least the last 39 years, nobody has ever looked down upon me because I'm straight. Nobody has looked at me in a different light because I'm a straight person. So why is it you think that these people in Boston decided to get up in the morning and go to a straight pride parade and celebrate the fact that they are straight? I think the majority of these people are doing it to mock homosexuals.
I really don't think it's really to mock us. I just think, bottom line, they're jealous. we in the LGBT, area have created our own festivals, our own parades to, enjoy and celebrate. And I think basically they're just jealous because they don't have anything to celebrate.
So we have a few callers on the line. I'm going to give them an opportunity to ask you a question real quickly before we go. Is that okay, Chris?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Number to call, 257-5396. And again, we only have a few more minutes here, but we'll try to get to your calls as fast as we can. Why don't we start with, who are we starting with, Johnny? Let's start with Mike. Mike, go ahead. You're on.
What's up, Mike?
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. Yeah, I think this issue is 100% about sodomy, and families do not want to introduce their young children who are still developing. They haven't even reached the age of reasoning. Every child reaches the age of reasoning. Hello?
Yeah, we're listening, Mike.
We're listening, Mike.
At a different time. And I think, when this first started, it was LGB, and then it was LGBTQ, and then it was LGBTQT, and now they want to add a P on it and then a B.
All right, well, let's go to Chris, and let's let him respond to that. Go ahead, Chris.
Bottom line, I respect, your choices. And if you feel that you as a parent don't want to subject your children to LGBT story time, you have a choice. You don't bring your child. Everything in life is your choice. And what another parent does to choose, you have no control of how they choose to educate their son or their daughter or their child. That's why they have their parents. And their parents, set up their guidelines of how they want to raise their kids. So why should another person tell somebody else really how to raise their kids?
Well, listen, unfortunately, we're up against a break, Chris. I would like to. We have a lot of other people on the line. We just don't have time. But, Chris, I really do appreciate you taking the time to explain what you're doing. I'm going to be very clear again. I see nothing wrong with what you guys are doing in these libraries. I personally don't see anything wrong with it. It's a free country, just like if you don't like this radio show, you don't have to listen. If you don't want to go to a library and don't want your kids to see somebody dressed in drag, guess what? It's a free country. You don't have to do that either. Thank you so much for your time, Chris. We really appreciate it. As we continue to monitor the story, we'd love to have you on again if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. And if anybody wants to reach out to us, you're more than welcome. You can go to equalitynv.org, shoot us an email, and we'll be happy to answer any of your questions you might have.
I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you for your perspective, and we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
All right, there you go. Chris Davin, Equality Nevada. Trust me, folks, we are going to continue to monitor this story. And as it heats up, and maybe, there's more picketing, maybe there's more protest. By the way, for the record, this has nothing to do with sodomy. I don't know what that caller was talking about. That is the most ignorant comment. I didn't want to interrupt him because I wanted him to get his question out there. What the hell are you talking about, buddy? Okay, he just said that these drag queens go through background checks. What does this have to do with sodomy? What the hell are you talking about?
If you're worried about sodomy, you should just make sure your kids don't go to jail if they're males.
What an idiot.
They'll really have to worry about that in jail.
What an idiot. Can you imagine, you think of someone dressed in drag and automatically the first thing that comes to your mind is sodomy? How ill-informed are you, sir?
That was an interesting spin that Chris put on it by saying, hey, it's entertainment.
Sodomy.
What separates
I like divas.
A guy dressed up like a girl from a clown at a birthday party? I mean, not a lot.
For the record, I liked the show Divas. Okay, the premise of the show was men dressed in drag. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good time.
And as long as these drag queens are not trying to push that lifestyle on these young kids, I have absolutely no issue with it at all.
And that's a good point, because if they did do that, then I would be striking a different tune and I would disagree with it. But they're not doing that. This has nothing to do with sodomy. That's another Mike Pence that just called into the radio show that probably believes in conversion therapy. What a bunch of nonsense. Anyway, we're going to have Chris back on the show again to talk about this because the phone lines are lit up, but unfortunately we got to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You are listening. And by the way, we're going to do the news coming up next as well with John Schaefer. John Brookhagen coming up next, former Clark County School District teacher from Infinity to the Math Institute. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You are listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.